Well, hi YouTubers, I'm back with another Physics File 100 books, and it is The Samurai's Garden by Gail Tsukiyama. Let's read the blurb on the back. On the eve of the Second World War, a young Chinese man is sent to his family home in Japan to recover from tuberculosis. He will rest, swim in the sea, and paint in a brilliant shoreside light. It will be quiet and solitary. Then he meets 4 local residents, a beautiful Japanese girl and 3 older people. What then ensures is a tale that readers will find once classical yet utterly unique. Young Stephen has his own adventures, but it's the attention of Matsu, Sachi and Kenzo that seizes your attention and will stay with you forever. Okay, it's a very, very interesting book because this is not really a book about, obviously now, this is a book set during Japan during the 1940s, and you can imagine, especially with a Chinese protagonist. Now, a lot of people have written about the rape of Nanking and the atrocities that Japan committed in China during the Second World War. But imagine being Stephen. Now, the way it starts off with him quite idealistic. Here it goes. I wanted to find my own way this morning, so I wanted to find my own way, so this morning I persuaded my father to let me travel along from his apartment in Kobe to my grandfather's beach house. It had taken me nearly 2 weeks to convince him. He would think I was a child, not a young man of 20. Seems a small victory, but I won so few in the past months that it means everything to me, perhaps even the beginning of my recovery. Just before leaving, I brought this book of Japanese parchment paper to record any other prize I might be lucky enough to capture. It opens before me now, thin sheets of sand-coloured paper, empty and quiet as the beach below the village. The air of this book catches you straight away. It's melancholy. It's actually quite sad. This is not a book. This is a book about a world that's dramatically changing. Stephen is in a position of authority. Goes to his family's house where basically he is waited on by the servants. But he gets to know them. He doesn't see himself. He sees himself as equal. But they can never really forget who's really in charge, even though they're all ethnically Japanese and he's Chinese. Especially if you think he's a stand-in, because there's this bit coming up further along. Okay, it's further along the book. This book is in a diary format. Okay. My father and I spent the rest of the evening speaking about the ongoing war. I listened politely, wishing I could be back alone in my room. Felt like I was sitting across from a stranger as I searched for words to fill up the thick silence. Even in subtle signs of familiarity, my father combed the fingers through his grey hair, or constantly adjusting the knot of his tie, couldn't bring me ease. Watched him not soundly, confirming my fears about the fierce Japanese drive that continued towards Canton. At the rate they moved through China, Canton would be overtaken within months. The kind of death and destruction left my father speechless. I couldn't even begin to imagine Sachi and Matsu as my enemy, yet it felt strange to think that as I sat comfortably within their midst, Japan continued to ravage our homeland. Now, I like that. Japan is ravaging our homeland. But he's currently in Japan as a Chinese man. So you can imagine. He is but see himself as equal, but people within the book, they start to see him as not. Do you understand? Yeah. Yeah, it's very, very, very interesting. When you further along in the book, the first month after arriving at the beach house, I somehow convinced myself that being in Tamuri kept me away from what was happening in China. But the realization again hit me in the face as I walked behind Matsu. I was the only young man in the crowd. While the villagers had grown used to my presence, I felt obvious and uncomfortable. Yeah, that kind of thing. It's also describing a world that doesn't exist anymore. That's the thing. This is Japan before the fall, if you will. This is Japan before it had to rise up again like the phoenix from the ashes. This is basically a love letter to what once was and what never can be. Hence its melancholia. Stephen, being ethnically Chinese, but his father gave him a name Stephen because it would be able to fit it in for business. Okay, so he's Chinese. His name is Stephen, and he's currently in Japan during the Second World War as a guest. Do you see the juxtaposition here? And it is brilliant. The melancholy air of this book, the sights and the sounds. Gail's description of the sights and sounds of Japan make you kind of yearn for that time, which will never come again now. Permanently destroyed. And I won't describe how this book ends, but it's actually quite heartbreaking. This is not a book about these characters, because these characters basically form archetypes. It's called a samurai's garden. You have, you know, the beauty, the strict one, the stern one. These aren't really characters, they're more like, I don't want to go into it. They're not characters, they're archetypes. And that is why this book is so, so good. It's a beautiful, melancholy, fluid, remarkable bit of storytelling. I really, really do recommend it. So, sign off here, YouTubers. Take care. And bye now.